star so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horse is kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. You'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight.
Howdy there, I'm Matt McKinley and we're burning daylight.
In the saddle till the job's done right.
Welcome to Burnin' Daylight, the only podcast for the working cowboy. Well, howdy there, daylight burners. Hope everybody's doing well today. Got a really cool guest on the show. It's a fella named Jonathan Woods, and he's the author of one of the craziest premises of a story that I've ever come across. I'm a couple chapters into this book, and it's fascinating and interesting as hell. And I can't wait to finish it and move on to some of your other works. So, Jonathan, how the hell are you today?
I am fantastic. Just came back from 5 days in Minneapolis at a thing called VoucherCon. 1,200 crime fiction fans and 200 authors.
Oh, okay.
Great.
Yeah, that sounds like a good time. So, I was looking on your website and kind of through your bio, and you're a very well educated man. Like you've got a pretty impressive college resume.
Well, I don't know. Picked up a couple of law degrees and an undergrad degree and made a living, you know.
Yeah.
And now I use all that intellect to write absolutely shocking,
yeah,
crazy books.
And yeah, this is a crazy story. So I guess if you want to give us a little rundown about yourself and how you came about doing this, what do you call it, like satirical noir? Yeah, crazy genre you've got going there.
It's all mixed up, but it all comes out of my earlier books. I write kind of pulpy crime fiction, and it gets stranger and stranger the older I get.
Well, that's awesome. It's like I mean, I've got two young kids, and they come up with some really crazy ideas, and yeah, yours is this whole deal is right up there with them, except you got a whole lot of, experience and education to go along with it, to make sure that kind of you don't have to suspend reality too far to kind of get into the book.
Well, actually, I kind of live in a suspended reality ever since COVID hit, so it's been pretty weird, but I really enjoyed writing this book. It was a lot of fun to write, and it kind of wrote itself. I'm not one of these writers that outlines or anything like that. I just come up with a main character, Mr. Ray Puzo, ex-Special Forces guy, and I say, go for it, Ray. And he ends up on this crazy cow ranch down in Texas. So he's kind of looked down on by the local vaqueros, say, but he shows his mark when he starts slaughtering feral hogs.
These aren't your regular feral hogs. I mean, everybody kind of is aware of the feral hog problem in Texas nowadays, and people have made some pretty big money of hunting them. And you took it to a place I never saw coming. So yeah, how'd you come up with that?
So I have absolutely no idea. Back in high school, I read George Orwell's Animal Farm. And my earlier noir is kind of on the border of surreal or absurdist. And it's kind of between that way of thinking about the world and Animal Farm and feral hogs. It just kind of all kind of blended together like a good cornbread made with jalapenos, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's very, very Texas there. I grew up just just north of the Panhandle, in the southeast corner of Colorado. So I'm aware of all those, those little Texas idiosyncrasies, and it's it's so radioactive feral hogs that have gained intelligence and read books, and it's
can shoot machine guns, and
yeah, I haven't got to that part yet, but I can't wait.
So these hogs feel really put upon, by this Mr. Puzo, who's a crack military killer. I mean, that's all he knows. He's kind of an innocent character. Other than that,
yeah,
not very worldly. So anyway, these crazy hogs who are now super intelligent, and that's just kind of a given in the book. They decided that they don't want to be wiped out, so they start fighting back, just like good Ukrainians. They fight back.
Yeah.
When the humans in Russia invade. So
yeah,
that's what happens to my hogs, and there's they basically end up putting the ranch under siege. So,
it's crazy. So, it's funny. Like I was telling you before we started here, and it kind of ties into, the whole world just being kind of weird right now, with COVID, everything that has gone on, you had I'm always been a conspiracy theory enthusiast. Like I don't buy into all of them, but I will at least examine most of them because they're just fascinating. And
I guess you need to start spreading the word that the hogs are coming.
Yeah, I see that. There you go. I went on a similar route, but I was investigating these mutilated cattle. There's several different cases all across the West where people come across their cattle. It look like they've been, dissected surgically and stuff, and nobody really has a good explanation for it. But it reeks of UFOs and whatnot. And I said, well, maybe it's a Sasquatch. What if aliens, abducted a Sasquatch, and that there was just a hell of a fight in that flying saucer, and they, the aliens and the Sasquatch came to some sort of understanding, and they gave, the aliens gave all this technology to the Sasquatch in order to keep us humans in line. And so then, I call it Science Squatch. So. It's kind of the same premise. I don't know. I mean, there was a general idea of where it came from, but it's all nonsense. But I'm going to try to make it a thing.
Well, good luck with that.
Yeah.
As long as you can turn it into some quick cash.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, right. I mean,
yeah. It's funny how the year 2020 was just like a confluence of all these conspiracies floating around that just it was one big outside of it being real life, it was really quite fascinating to watch it all unfold, with the QAnon movement, with all of the different various conspiracies surrounding COVID, with the election, and it was just, you had just the perfect storm of conspiracy theories, and it was fascinating to watch. Still is.
Well, the good news about Hog Wild is it's not part of that. It started before COVID.
Nice.
I worked on it in a writers group down in San Marcos, Texas.
Okay.
Beautiful little town down in the hill country.
And a lot of good music comes out of that area.
It does. Well, it's just a little south of Austin. So.
Yeah, a lot of my favorite bands all come out of that Austin. Well, Austin and Stillwater, Oklahoma. Between those two scenes, that's kind of where most of my favorite musicians come from.
Yeah, well, there's a really great song by Hank Williams Jr. called "Hog Wild." It's a really, really great song. So I think that one came out of Nashville. But
yeah, that I might use that as the exit song for this interview. It's pretty fitting.
Yes, you should do that.
I think I will. Yeah. Yeah. So how did
I was
you?
using it to promote the book on like Facebook and stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah. So you said you got a couple of law degrees. How does that work? Like I thought just once you became you got your doctorate and passed the bar, you were just a lawyer.
well, I wanted to be a better lawyer. So
Oh, okay.
I said I want twice as much punishment, and so I took 2 law degrees.
I see.
No, I went to a small law school in Boston, and I just needed a piece of paper from a big name firm in order to kind of pump up my resume. So,
Oh, I see. I see.
I had a great time as a lawyer. I worked for a high tech company. It was a multinational. I used to go to Japan and Europe and Mexico.
Mm. So you've seen all sorts of cool stuff.
Oh yeah, a lot of I actually am. I have kind of a love affair with Mexico. It features in almost all of my books as a place that people go and get crazy in. So actually, it's a little surprising. Hog Wild is set in South Texas, so I guess that's near the Mexican border. But
Yeah, a lot of Mexican influence. So
definitely, so,
yeah. I've only been just right over the border, and when I was in high school, went with my church down there to Reynosa, and that's the extent of my international travel. I've been quite a few different places here in the States, but my international is just over the border in Mexico.
Well, I really love Mexico. It's too bad about all this cartel junk, but
oh man, it's awful.
maybe they'll get their hands around it someday. But
I hope so. I don't know how you fix that, but I work with and I have worked for most of my adult life with primarily Mexican guys, either first generation or second generation, in the US, and really just terrific people. Can't beat the food, and just I really enjoy just that culture, and I'd like to go down there, but also I don't want to be carjacked and robbed and kidnapped or whatever.
Yeah. Road. Yes, right.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's not even that's not even an exaggeration anymore. It's like that's not being paranoid. That's a real thing that happens quite a bit.
Yeah. I used to go over the border all the time down by Brownsville into Matamoros, and now people say don't go. So, but my first novel, which is called A Death in Mexico, actually is set in San Miguel de Allende, which is this beautiful colonial town up in the mountains, about 3 hours north of Mexico City. It's a gorgeous little town. And then my second novel, Kiss the Devil Goodnight, the second half of it is set in Yucatan and involves actually kind of a crazy cartel that all the soldiers of the cartel go bare-chested, whether they're female or male. So, a little weird.
Yeah, your style is like it's like Tarantino meets meets Animal Farm meets like Jack Carr or Tom Clancy or something. It's I love it. It's fascinating. It's it's like a good escape from because the real world's weird enough, but when you can find something even weirder that that doesn't take place in real life, it's a nice little escape.
Well, the book gets funnier as you go through it too. It's a very funny book.
Yeah, I love humor, so it's
very unpredictable. So
awesome. I'm looking forward to finishing it. Yeah. Has any thoughts of turning it into a movie or anything?
Well, I would love to do that. Well, I mean, that's where the cash is,
Oh yeah.
Okay, so no cash books anymore, unless you can write them in about 8 sentences.
Yeah. Well, who would play the main character? Mr. Puzo.
Mr. Puzo. Gosh, who would I have do that? Somebody young and muscular.
Yeah, they'd have to be.
Who,
Yeah,
who is that? I don't know. Matt Damon. He's probably getting too old for the role.
he is getting up there a little bit. I mean, he's what, 40 something. I don't know. I don't know how old. It's hard telling with Hollywood. The Botox makes it difficult.
Right, and they airbrush everything.
Yeah. Well, so Jack Carr's got that series on Amazon now, and Chris Pratt's his main character, and he does a good job of it. I think you'd have to have somebody kind of in that mold.
What series is this you're talking about?
It's called Terminal List.
Oh, okay. You would recommend that, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I enjoyed it. If you like, it's kind of it's like a darker version of Tom Clancy.
Oh,
kind of a political thriller, but same premise, ex-Navy SEAL, on a vendetta. It's pretty good. I enjoyed it, but yeah. So it seems like you draw some of that style, and and then it just gets weird, and I like weird.
Yeah, well, my couple of my favorite shows are Better Call Saul and the predecessor show.
Oh, Breaking Bad, yeah.
Breaking Bad, yeah.
That Bob Odenkirk really does a good job with that character.
And it's a dark story, but it's also very funny. It very much pokes fun at lawyers who deserve to be had fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either fun or they're hated directly. I mean, those are your two options. Nobody loves a lawyer.
I think you're 100% right on that, and we're getting to see like some of the crazier lawyers that actually exist on full display here in the past couple of years too. So that's also kind of neat.
Like Mr. Giuliani.
Yeah, boy, talk about a fall from grace.
Yeah, no
boy, howdy. Yeah, he's something else. If Trump somehow stays out of jail, it will not because he has good lawyers. It'll be because of something else. Like lawyers are, my God.
Well, I was one of those good guy lawyers. I just worked on the paperwork for the deals. So
there you go.
I didn't screw anybody. Although I've had a couple of experiences since I left my legal career where I needed a lawyer and I really felt underrepresented, not vigorously represented, but anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. There's I think you could go off for days on lawyers, and but they're it's a necessary profession, but boy, there's a lot of snakes in it.
Yeah, let's talk about beautiful women instead.
There you go. who would be the crazy ranch ladies in this movie of yours?
Ooh, I would pick among others Chloe. Is it Savigny or something?
Oh, okay.
You know her? Yeah, she's a dark little,
yeah,
trampy type. Can I say that on your podcast?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, you can say whatever you want on here, but you also kind of got to get some of the crazy eyes in there too. So, like, I mean, if AOC was an actress, she's that's not a bad pick. She's nice to look at, but she's got the crazy eyes, and you could believe that she could pull a gun on. Well, she doesn't really believe in guns, but if she did, she'd pull it on somebody.
Yeah, I think she'd end up, selling the ranch and giving it all away to charity. So,
yeah,
that would be too exciting, would it?
Maybe.
I mean, the ranch matriarch Amanda in my Hog Wild novel is out to find a heir to the ranch because her daughter is kind of a loose cannon and her son is gay, so she's kind of cut him out of the picture.
Oh yeah,
and so she wants Mr. Puzo to get in bed with her daughter and end up as the new blood for the family, the Cross family that goes back to the days of George Washington. So
Yeah, because this is one of those old original Texas family ranches that spread into an empire, and
yeah, this is the King Ranch.
Yeah. Any of those, the XIT, whatever it is. Yeah. I really like the premise. Like I said, I wish I'd had more time to finish it, but before we talk, but I can't wait to, it's just such a crazy style, but I'm fascinated by it.
Well, it's also, it's a fast story. So in some ways, it's actually an adventure novel, written in kind of a pulpy 1950s style. I'm thinking of people like John D. MacDonald or some of those great. They used to be published by this paperback publisher, Paperback Originals, Crest or Gold Crest, something like that.
I see. Yeah. I think I don't know if I read any of them, but it's got it was very kind of like rockabilly too, wasn't it? Like that was kind of yeah. There like that whole like 50s feel. It was I got you. It's pinstripes and like the crazy like eyeball paintings on the cars and stuff.
Hog Wild's definitely rockabilly. Yeah. That's a good thing. That's a good handle for it, rockabilly.
Yeah, I think
noir.
There you go. Because then it ties into that Southern theme too. Because Southern, rockabilly was huge across the South, and I think, Yeah.
When I lived in Nashville, there was a fabulous rockabilly band. The lead guitarist was a guy named Webb Wilder, and he never made it, big beyond Nashville or beyond Tennessee, but he was just fabulous. So if you ever get I guess you'd probably pull him up off of YouTube.
Oh yeah, Webb
Wilder.
Wilder. Okay, I'll look him up. Yeah, that. Yeah, because I used to listen to like Reverend Horton Heaton, that kind of there was a few rockabilly bands that I kind of got into, and then like Levon Helm from the band, he got his start and rockabilly in that rockabilly scene, and it was kind of a crazy kind of post World War era or World War II era, just it was still some wild people, but it hadn't gone in like full counterculture yet. I mean, they were the counterculture before the counterculture.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So where did you grow up at?
I grew up coast to coast. I lived in LA, Massachusetts, upstate New York, Ohio, Nashville. So I'm a product of America, I guess.
Yeah. What Army brat or you just bounced around?
Corporate.
Oh, okay.
My father was a kind of a mid-level finance guy, and he just never could settle into one company. So he was always changing jobs.
Oh, I see.
I don't know what that was all about, but we all have our burdens to bear.
Yeah. So you really got a broad swath of America that experience.
I did, absolutely.
What was your I guess your favorite if you had to pick one?
Oh, well, it's always where I am. So
there you go.
I'm loving Dallas. I've always had a sweet spot for Dallas. It's a big city, but it's also a big Western city. So it has that kind of Western vibe to it. You can get out in the country real easy. And Texas is a beautiful state. You go down to Big Bend or out to the Davis Mountains, gorgeous. Or even the hill country where I used to live in San Marcos. So
there's a lot to see in Texas. It's a big place too. I mean, you go up to the Palo Duro Canyon. That's one of the prettiest things you'll ever see.
Yes, absolutely. And
Yeah.
the coast, even the coast is nice. I mean, I like Galveston. I like South Padre.
Mhm. Yeah, my mom and dad used to live down at Corpus Christi for a little while, and my mom's favorite place on earth was Snoopy's. That was her favorite place to eat.
So I think it's time for an advertisement.
Oh, okay. Let's let's do it. Hog Wild, Jonathan. From Jonathan Woods.
I'm
You
sorry.
No. Feel free.
Self-promoter. It was funny when I was in Minneapolis at this BoucherCon thing.
Mhm.
When I was eating by myself, I always sit at the bar,
Mhm.
whatever restaurant I'm in.
Oh yeah.
Lo and behold, in one restaurant, I sold books to the customers on either side of me at the bar. And then I did the same thing that evening in a fancy steakhouse. So
Heck yeah, that's awesome. I try to every time I'm traveling. I don't travel a ton, but when I do, I keep a big stack of business cards and just hand them out at the airport bar. That's one of my favorite places on earth is just your standard airport bar. I like talking to people. You know, just everybody's usually willing to have a conversation at the airport bar. You know, if they don't want to talk, they don't sit at the bar.
That's right.
And and so you never know where somebody's from. I talked to a guy from Calgary, Alberta in I guess was it Denver or Vegas? That was Denver, I guess. Just you never know where somebody's gonna be from and what kind of stories they got to tell.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, that's always good stories. At least if they open up.
Yeah, and I nothing better than just listening to a good story or swapping stories. That's my favorite thing on earth.
Absolutely. And drinking, of course, drinking tequila, you got to do that. But.
Yes, sir.
At least if you're from Texas or Mexico, right?
Oh yeah. That's nowadays it's tequila and Topo Chico. That's kind of everybody's drinking.
They call that ranch water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
with
pretty good stuff.
A little lime in there.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of it. It's a good drink.
It's an easy drink. Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty soon you're on your behind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it goes down real easy, and then it catches up to you real quick.
In Mexico, they make margaritas, of course, but for some reason they're so much stronger than American margaritas. So very dangerous.
Oh, really?
Very dangerous. They don't put the sweetener in it like we do either. So.
I've noticed that about the U.S. It just everything's really sweet like that. It might be why we have an obesity problem. Maybe.
Oh, you're right. I noticed that on this trip. How many really overweight people there are wandering around. Scary.
Oh man, it really is. It's when you actually pay attention to it, you're like, holy cow, we are fat.
So I guess we got it too good too.
Yeah, that's true. But hey, tequila's got no sugar in it, so.
Yeah, I mean, alcoholic beverages are low calorie if you don't add sweetener.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. It's pretty. I don't know if it's healthy, but it's less sugar for sure.
Well, I was reading some doctors talking about, when you hit like 70, you should give up drinking because if you want to live a long time, and you kind of look at them and say, well, why would I want to give up drinking?
there was a,
but that's just me.
Yeah. I think he passed away here a couple years ago, but there was a World War II vet lived in Austin, Texas, and he smoked stogies and drank whiskey every day of his life, and he was like 104 years old. And
there you go.
So yeah, who knows how it all works.
Reason, but don't give up your the good things in life just to live for a few more years.
No.
Left, especially all these people now getting what are they called, Alzheimer's.
Oh, I know it. Yeah, it's
thing too.
Yeah, it's
I don't know because we live longer now, we're more susceptible to it, or what? But
I don't know. That's a weird one. That Alzheimer's. It doesn't seem to. That's another one. No rhyme or reason. It just kind of happens.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what it. Yeah, there you go. That way they can't tell if you got Alzheimer's or not.
There you go. And then keep reading Hog Wild, of course. But.
Perfect. Yeah, then people don't know what to think. So who are some of your favorite like authors and genres that you like if you had to just pick something to read, what are you going to?
Well, I mean, I read a fair amount of crime fiction. I tend to go for crime fiction that's a little bit more, I don't know what I'd call it, literary, a little more carefully crafted sentences. But just a couple of influences that have affected my work. First, I would mention Raymond Chandler, who, of course, is classic crime fiction. His detective Philip Marlowe was in late 30s and early 40s, and Humphrey Bogart, Philip Marlowe in The Big Sleep. But Chandler was famous for his similes and metaphors, very, very funny, and I kind of rubbed off on me. So you'll find a bunch of weird similes and metaphors in Hog Wild and my other books.
I noticed that, and I forget, it was in the first couple paragraphs. There was some little simile that I had never heard before, but I liked, and.
And then the other writer that's influenced me is a guy named Barry Gifford.
Okay.
Started out as a poet and then started writing novels, and somewhere along the line, probably in the 1990s, somewhere in there, he wrote a book called Wild at Heart. He teamed up with David Lynch.
Okay.
And they made a movie out of it, a great movie with Laura Dern and the guy that made the Pig movie recently.
Nicolas Cage?
Nicolas Cage.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's a terrific movie, but the book is, I think the book is better than the movie, but the book is just very funny. It's kind of a road trip where an ex-con and his girlfriend run off, and the ex-con's girlfriend's mother wants to track him down. And it's a very funny book, and it moves very quickly. And that kind of style is his style.
Okay.
Really, affected me as a writer, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
And then other writers I like, for example, Michael Connelly. He writes the same book over and over, but they're all really well done. And he was a super generous. I mean, he's been pretty famous for years. And I remember before I even published my first book, I went to see him. He came to Dallas, and I went to, he did a book reading and signing or whatever you call it. And I went up to see him, and I said, do you ever read manuscripts? And he rolls his eyes at me and says, not really, but all right, send it to me. So I sent him this manuscript, and a few months went by, and I figured, he's blown me off, And then out of the blue, I receive in the mail a 3-page hand-typed letter telling me, what I need to do to fix the book.
Huh.
And I ended up not doing that. I ended up putting the book in the bottom drawer and starting a new book.
Oh, okay.
But the thing that amazed me is here's this best-selling writer who's probably so busy, not only writing new books, but trying to, create TV shows or movies
Mhm.
or whatever, and he took the personal time to write me a 3-page letter after he
Mhm.
read my manuscript. I mean, that is to me such a generous act.
Yeah, for sure. That takes some time.
So
Like
anyway,
just the typing of the letter takes a little bit of time, but then also reading and critiquing and giving advice on a book too. I mean, that's
yeah,
pretty impressive.
we
That's
didn't have to do that. I've had
no.
other big seller writers look at me when I ask them if they read manuscripts, and they say something like, "Well, my lawyer won't let me look at manuscripts because I'm
No.
sued." So that's the sort of the kiss off. But
Mm, yeah. Yeah,
you
that's
have to be generous in this life. I mean, you asking me to be on your podcast is an example of generosity, because here I am, kind of a famous writer that you've never heard of.
well,
And here you
I
are helping me, promote Hog Wild. So
well, I appreciate it. It's I don't have a huge audience, but so I'm glad that you came on anyways. It's kind of odd couple pairing, but I've really enjoyed the conversation, and I'm like, it's a really a pleasant surprise, how much I like this book, because it was kind of out of the blue, but I said, sounds interesting anyways, at the very least it sounds entertaining, and that's kind of the big reason I started this was because there wasn't anybody that I found talking about, stuff that a working cowboy wants. So that's what I do for a living. So I figure I put out something that's entertaining that guys like me riding a horse all day wouldn't mind listening to. So it's been a fascinating, chat. And so, yeah, I think you're right. You got to be generous in life.
yep, give what you give out, you get back.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I think there's been missing a lot in culture here lately, is just like honest discussion, conversation, regardless of, political ideology. People have got way too freaking political here lately.
yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah, and there's just not enough, discussion, because I think when you actually talk to people, you find out you're not nearly as far apart as a lot of people might think you are. And then there's a lot of good that comes out of conversation.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll talk to anybody anywhere.
Mhm. Same here, and
I'm a very friendly kind of guy.
yeah, well, and like I said, it's kind of like that old. And I've been using it a lot lately because I've been doing some traveling, but I just that airport bar deal is like, because you never know what you're gonna hear, who you're gonna talk to, but it's always pretty interesting, and you gain something out of it just by having a conversation.
Absolutely. And I think we need the political scene to come more into the middle,
Yeah, I agree.
where people are willing to, not only talk to each other, but compromise on
Mm,
stuff that's good for the American people. I don't,
yeah, I think so.
whatever
I think
that may be, but
yeah, yeah. I think you have to highlight good discussions and compromise and stuff, and not pay as much attention to the lunatics that are they're making all the noise.
on the fringe, yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. I think you're right, and that doesn't mean you have to be a centrist or whatever. It's just like, yeah, you have to be willing to talk to the other side.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. That you don't, otherwise nothing changes. It just gets worse.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
And
let's talk about beautiful women again.
exactly.
I don't want to get too serious here.
No, I agree. So you're also very funny in your writing. Is there like any like comedic influences outside of the stuff that you've mentioned already?
Well, I mean, I always enjoy a good comedic book. I can't
Mm,
think of any quite off the top of my head that I read recently, but Um,
I always go back to Mark Twain. You know, he's a classic as far as just like a lot of hidden humor. Like it's very, very dry. And if you're just reading and you're not paying attention, you don't notice it. But if you notice it, you're just like, man, that was really funny. Just like real clever. And but I don't know. I appreciate people that have a way with words, you know, turn of a phrase or something. And it's like those little similes you were talking about that adds flavor to a good story.
Yeah, David Sedaris is a very funny writer.
Mm-hmm.
I actually saw him live. He did just kind of a chit chat thing in front of an audience of probably a couple of hundred people, and he had them in hysterics.
Yeah, yeah. There's something to that, just being able, and particularly on the fly, just being able to come up with stuff to. It's you know, thinking quick on your feet. That's a talent.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Monty Python too. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
but there was not only the movies, but there's also a TV show that was on for years out of it. Totally wacky stuff. I mean, that dry English sense of humor that you suddenly realize they said something so outrageous that you end up rolling on the floor.
Oh yeah, all the Monty Python stuff is just so funny, and they don't. There's no boundaries either. It's so funny. I grew up on on South Park, and that's another kind of absurd. And I honestly think it's the funniest TV show ever made, and it's just shitty animation and just dick and fart jokes mixed with like really, really cutting like social commentary.
Oh yeah, the social commentary is fantastic.
Oh, it's so good. They are so funny. And it's amazing how that, you know, just like really crudely animated TV show has become like just a fixture of American culture for the past, I think they just celebrated 25 years or something stupid like that.
Well, you know, the hogs characters in my book are kind of like that too. I mean, they become very active and have, you know, discussions and
yeah,
you know, so they're major characters in the book, and they all have really weird names like Pol Pot Jr. and you know,
Pol Pot Jr.
and Idi Amen.
That's funny.
Dr. Mengele the Fourth, and yeah, the hogs. I mean, they read all these history books, but they get it all confused in their minds, and so they end up twisting it around. So it's you know,
it's funny. That's really funny. I'm a history nerd too, so I just like I appreciate again any like, you know, comedic reference to, you know, to like some obscure historical, or even not so much obscure, but just like, you know, if you can make a funny reference to history, I'm like, that gets me laughing every time.
And you know, they're usually very bad people, and they end up choosing for names for some reason.
That's funny. That's really funny.
And a writer friend of mine, a woman named Vicki Hendricks, who writes sort of Florida noir, very kind of pulpy, very sexy, really great books to read. Anyway, she wrote about Hog Wild. She said, "Men are pigs and pigs are men." That kind of sums up my satiric intent when I wrote this book.
It's not wrong. It's not wrong. You on your website said you split time between Dallas and Key West. Key West, that's either a vacation spot or where people just like go to get lost, isn't it?
That about perfectly sums it up. It also actually, strangely enough, it attracts and has continued to attract writers, especially. I mean, Hemingway, of course, was, but also Tennessee Williams had a house there.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my absolute favorite modern writers, who just died a couple of years ago, a guy named Robert Stone, who wrote a book called Dog Soldiers.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Which won a National Book Award about heroin smuggling from Vietnam.
Yeah. I haven't read that, but I remember hearing about it because it was made a lot of news, I think.
It did. It's a brilliant book. I probably read it 4 times.
It's on my list now.
It hasn't influenced my writing because I don't know. There's a lot of irony in this book, so I guess it's influenced me in that respect. But it's written as a very straightforward,
like a historical account.
Not humorous, except in a very ironic sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a very serious book, but
yeah,
it reads like a thriller. So fabulous writer. He wrote 4 great books, and then I guess some of his talent started to wane as he got older. But his first 4 books, which Dog Soldiers was number 2, brilliant stuff. Just brilliant stuff.
I'm gonna put Dog Soldiers on my list, to read next. But have you read anything by Annie Jacobson?
Don't know that name.
Okay, she does a lot of. She's a really fantastic author, but she does a lot more into like the conspiracy realm, but she does it all based on facts. Like she goes and like does a lot of FOIA requests and digging through declassified documents and everything. So she's done one on Area 51, but has nothing to do with extraterrestrials. It's strictly about the secret airplanes that were developed at Area 51. And then she does like a whole history of the CIA and the special operations community. It's really, really good work. I can't recommend her. Her enough.
I'll look into it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think you'll enjoy it.
I want to make an admission. I'm actually an alien.
Awesome. Did you ever meet up with a Sasquatch?
What's that? There's some kind of mystical beast that lives in Texas that is kind of like a wolf.
Like a chupacabra?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe I was onto something. It's not a Sasquatch, but a chupacabra that got abducted by aliens.
By the way, I was just thinking about Monty Python again, and that I forget which film it is. It's one of the movies that has the killer rabbit that goes for people's throats.
Oh, what is that movie?
Was that the Holy Grail? I think
maybe it is. I can't remember. I remember the scene. I think it's got to be Holy Grail, don't it?
Yeah, I think so. Well, anyway, yeah. Hog Wild has a killer monkey.
That's awesome.
So you'll meet him later on.
I was reading a news article the other day about how the Russians have it was the Russians or the Ukrainians, I think it was the Russians, that had attack dolphins.
Really?
Yeah, and so I figure that Florida is going to have attack manatees. I don't know what the Gulf Coast. I guess manatees would be in the Gulf Coast.
Yeah. I used to be able to pet manatees when I lived in Key West. Yeah.
Oh, really?
There was one that hung around one of my favorite bars that was right on the, in a little harbor area.
Mm-hmm.
And that manatee would float around and he would come up and he'd let you rub his tummy.
Huh.
Hard to believe.
That's crazy. Those things are huge too, aren't they?
Yeah, they're big.
Yeah, that's wild. That's crazy. What a weird creature, the manatee. Wild. So what do you do besides write and travel?
I don't know. Look at beautiful women, drink tequila. I like to cook a little bit.
Yeah.
Nothing.
What's your specialty?
Nothing too fancy, but Well, I really like to do a fillet fried in a cast iron skillet, about 3 minutes per side.
Yeah, good medium rare.
Yeah, medium rare. And
yeah.
It's a lot cheaper than going out for it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
When I was in Minneapolis at that VoucherCon thing, I went to this steakhouse called Manny's Steakhouse. It's probably been there for 200 years, since 1776, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
And I had a vodka martini, I had a Caesar salad, and I had a filet, and it cost me $140.
Ooh.
Unbelievable.
Oof. That's I hope it was a good filet.
It was excellent, but it was a lot of money.
Oof. I was we went out to sushi the other night, and we live, not too far from Reno, and the deal there is every sushi restaurant is all you can eat. And it used to be about $20-$25, and now I think it's 35, but still worth it. Still worth
everything is going up though, like crazy. Yeah. What was that? There was a movie not too recent set in Lake Tahoe's. No, yeah.
Lake Tahoe?
Lake Tahoe, Nevada, with Tilda Swinton, and her son was in trouble with some. Oh, what was the name? The Deep End. The Deep End. That was the name.
Deep End. Huh. That was in Tahoe, huh?
Yeah, it's a really good little crime movie. I enjoyed it immensely.
I'll check it out. Yeah, like I bet my wife has seen it. She's a Nevada native, and so she knows all sorts of Nevada history. I told her she could start her own tour guide service in northern Nevada and make a killing. But
that would be cool.
Yeah. So if you're ever if you ever get a hankering to visit Tahoe, if you ever get a hankering to visit Tahoe, give me a holler and we'll show you around.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly. Some of Ross McDonald's mysteries are set in that part of the world. Western Nevada.
Yeah. Mark Twain used to spend a lot of time up in Lake Tahoe and then at Virginia City as well. There's another little writer's kind of haven, I guess.
Was he a gambler?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, probably.
I think if anybody that lived west of the Mississippi at that point was a gambler of some sort.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Woods, I appreciate the conversation today. If do all the plugs you want to do before we get out of here. Make sell all the books you can so you can drink more tequila wherever it is you go.
Hog Wild is the name of the book. Where is it?
Yeah.
Whoops. Haven't got this camera thing. And it's available on Amazon, basically. Yeah.
All right.
As an ebook and as a hardback, but a very inexpensive hardback.
Awesome. You going to do an audiobook on it?
I might. I'm not sure.
Awesome.
And if you're done with that one, there's 4 more before that. Mad Juju and Other Tales of Madness and Mayhem, A Death in Mexico, Phone Call from Hell and Other Tales of the Damned, and Kiss the Devil Goodnight.
Awesome. I'm gonna make my way through them all at some point, but I'm gonna finish Hog Wild first. It's really funny, really good read, so I recommend it highly.
Thank you very much for that. And when you finish it, if you like it, go on Amazon and write a nice little review. That would help me out too.
You bet. I'll do that. So check him out, Jonathan Woods, Hog Wild, and all of his other books, southernnoir.com. Is that correct for your website?
Correct. Yes,
all right,
southernnoir.com.
You can find all the information there. Man, Jonathan, I appreciate it again. Thank you so much. And thanks everybody for tuning in.
A pleasure talking to a bunch of cowboys.
You bet. You bet. Now, move your ass. We're burning daylight.
Okay.
You rise up in the morning beneath the stars so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horses kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. We'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. In the saddle till the job's done right. Is just a gather, and you won't catch 'em all. But when you ride through the gate, make sure you sit up tall. I can see the horizon, it's looking pretty bright. Well, get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight.